pressure. Well, good morning, everyone. How's everyone doing? We're good? That wasn't convincing. Good morning, everyone. How are we doing? Are we good? It's International Women's Day. We have a lot to celebrate right here at this conference, right? Absolutely. So I want to thank the organizers. Should I step back? I feel like there's feedback. I want to thank the organizers of today's program for the work that you put in, not only to make this program happen, but for the work that happens every day behind the scenes that people may or may not see. And so I want to thank our host institution, University of Albany, for the work you're doing. Also, the incredible Center for Women in Government and Civil Society, you know, having so many fellows in so many areas of government is not only important, it's very necessary. And so, because if you're not at the table, y'all know the rest of the saying, right? Okay, I just want to make sure who's in the room. Okay, so in thinking about what we're doing in the Senate, and I would be remiss if I didn't lift up the historic nature of our legislative body. We are underneath the leadership of our majority leader, who is the first woman and first Black woman to hold that position in the history of the New York State Senate. Also, I have the honor of being a part of our new class of senators, all women, first time ever, 245 years, history, all diverse. And so in thinking about why having women in leadership at every level in every institution is important, it's very simple. When you have diverse representation in the room, the scope and manner in which the work gets done, not only is it more innovative, but it's also more impactful. And so some of the things that I've been working on as the chair of the Senate committee, I'm on 6 other committees as well, but this one in particular that I chair intersects with many issues that some of our speakers have alluded to already and more. And so in our 2-month, now going into month 3 of our legislative session, we have been busy in the other half of the People's House. So I'll lift up a few legislative things we've been working on. So with respect to the workplace and the impact, for instance, that small businesses have on our economic development, we've passed a number of bills to strengthen the support, especially for women and minority-owned businesses here in our state. And it looks like things such as requiring our state agencies to provide a 3-year growth plan for MWBE contracts, right? So we just can't simply say, you know, it's important, we have to make that investment. And so that's one example. We've also put in place legislation that also requires for MWBEs to know why they didn't receive either certification, so that way we can identify gaps and to change that trajectory. We've also been doing a lot of work as it relates to reproductive care, and I'm so excited that I was able to be a part of our historic vote with regards to the Equality Amendment. Are folks familiar with this? This essentially will constitutionalize reproductive care in our New York State Constitution. And you may be thinking, so we still have work to do, because now it goes up for a vote on the ballot, where our residents here in New York make it official because it's a part of our Constitution. And you may wonder, what does that mean? Why having a constitutional amendment is important? And the answer is very simple, is that this critical issue of reproductive care, as we are still reeling in the after effects of the overturning of Roe v. Wade, which a number of folks did not believe would actually happen, but people have made it very clear that we have to continue to fight for those essential services such as reproductive care, because for some odd reason, there is a desire to remove people's access for dignity and respect, their ability to be treated like human beings. And so when you think about wellness and what the future looks like, it looks like pushing for legislation that is a part of your Constitution, that's a part of your guiding document that influences decisions. Y'all still with me?
Yeah.
And so the Equality Amendment, we've also taken measures to provide even more access as relates to reproductive care. We've established a reproductive equity fund. This is a grant that will expand not only access to abortion care, but also for contraceptives as well. Another issue we've been working on relates to maternal health. We had a public hearing yesterday, the mental and health committees in the Senate, around expanding access to doula care. And just to share a real quick stat, that the pervasiveness of maternal mortality is growing significantly in the US, and it's even worse here in New York. And in fact, 9 out of 10 mothers who are Black are more likely to die from child growth related issues than any other demographic here in New York. And so doulas are a tool with regards to changing that trajectory, because they have hands-on involvement in that birthing person's life as it relates to pre and postpartum. And so we have been recognized, actually, it was last week, because we passed a series of bills that establishes things such as a doula care directory, also increasing awareness about fibroid uterine issues. This is also another issue that impacts women of color, especially Black women. And we were actually recognized by Vice President Kamala Harris. The state legislature was recognized for our efforts to expand access to reproductive and maternal health. So again, I said we've been busy. I will most certainly close my comments in this way. And so I was asked to reflect on the theme of today's conference. And so in thinking about workforce to wellness, one of the things that I think is important, at least I hope, is a takeaway for all of us as a charge. So I'm also a community organizer, so there's always a call to action. Y'all should have known that was coming. The tally will tell you. A call to action was coming. Any efforts to expand wellness in the workplace has to be rooted in equity. It has to be. One of the things I often remark to folks about the pandemic is that it has served as a massive mirror to injustices that people have been sounding the alarms about for a long time. And it put on display in a major way long-standing glaring disparities that exist in every institution in our society. And so that's why I say that any efforts we do moving forward, it has to be rooted in equity. And what do I mean by that? When you talk about things such as workforce development, you cannot ignore the inequities as relates to pay. The fact that we're still having to fight for women to earn the same amount of money that their male counterparts earn for the same role, and that difference becomes even more apparent when you factor in race and ethnicity, is a problem. And these aren't things that just kind of happen. They are a byproduct of policies that have been created, which, hopeful spin, that means we can change it, right? Yes, we can change it. And it doesn't have to take 20 or 30 years. It's like, yes, we can change that experience. It also looks at things such as having the ability to have autonomy over your body. When you talk about reproductive care, right? It also ensures that we have access to all aspects of healthcare, and that includes mental health. You know, one of the things I appreciated seeing in the budget proposal is that we have a historic investment in mental health, which everyone knows has been such an ongoing challenge, but we have never fully adequately invested in mental health, but we have more work to do, right? It also looks at things such as childcare, right? We have a lot of childcare deserts across this state, and so we have to make sure that we're not only providing access, but we're also supporting the childcare providers. And that looks like making sure we are paying them what they need to not just have a living wage, but a wage that allows them to thrive. And so, again, I so appreciate the theme, but also I look forward to the continued great work that we will do, not only in the state senate, also in the assembly, across all of our institutions, because one of the things that I often remark when we talk about policies, right, we also have to talk about practices and how we implement these policies, right? Because you know how folks say the devil is in the details. Y'all familiar with that saying? I go a step further and say the impact is in the implementation. So we have a lot of great work to implement, and I'm so looking forward to it. And so I will close my remarks with that and bring up our next speaker. Our next speaker is Assembly Member Karen McMahon, and I'll give you a little bit of her bio. She was elected in November of 2018 to represent the 146th Assembly District, which includes the town of Amherst, the village of Williamsville in Erie County, and the town of Pendleton in Niagara County. I also probably should mention where I represent. That would probably make sense. So I represent District 52, which is Broome, Tompkins, Cortland counties. And so Karen is my counterpart on the assembly side as it relates to women's issues. She's done incredible work. It's also in the program. So please join me in welcoming Assembly Member to the stage.